Good morning, everyone. Dear authors and invited guests, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 6th Annual International Congress on Information and Communication Technology through Zoom. On behalf of ICICT 2021 and Global Knowledge Research Foundation. As every one of us is passing through these unforeseen circumstances due to COVID-19, we wish everyone and their families a safe time, and we hope to pass this soon. Further, with immense happiness, I would like to share that we have received an overwhelming response this year from across 90 countries, where over 1,000 papers were received and 350 papers were accepted, contributing to the success of this conference, and the papers will be published in 4 volumes this year. We are thankful to all our guests present on this platform to join us digitally for this conference in these unpredictable times and make these conferences more fruitful in terms of technical knowledge. And we hope you enjoy the 2 days of these knowledge and interactive sessions. I would like to welcome, I would like to welcome to this technical session 1 and further introduce the chair of the session, Professor Vijay Singh Rathore. Professor Vijay Singh Rathore is a professor and director international at the IIS, currently works at the Department of Computer Science and IT, the IIS University, Jaipur. Professor Vijay Singh does research in information systems and distribution computing and databases. The last project was the FICI TEAS 2020. If I could just unmute. Professor, can you hear us? I'm just asking him to
Yeah, very good evening to all of you. This is Dr. Vijay Singh Rathore. I welcome you all in this session, and I wish that you all present your work with full of your dedication, sincerity, and honesty. And let me allow the opening of the session, and let me invite the moderator to proceed.
Thank you, Professor. Our first author today will be Alika Nawaf from the Cardiff Met University. Her paper title is The Minimization of Cybersecurity Threats Caused by the COVID-19 Pandemic.
Hello there.
Hi.
Before I start, I faced a problem trying to log in because my session supposed to be 12:15, but there was a technical problem, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong, because
yes, there is a technical problem, madam.
Okay. No worries. So can I share my screen first, please?
Yeah, I can make you co-host, and if you just share your screen from there. Oh, sorry.
Okay, hello everyone. I would like to introduce myself. I'm a senior lecturer and program director at Cardiff School of Technology for Information Technology and Computer Science. So today I will be presenting a piece of work that myself and colleagues, we worked on that during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let me give you an overview of the presentation. I will go through an introduction of the topic and then move on to the aim of this paper and show some correlations between I think I'm not playing it right. Can you see my screen? Sorry. Hello?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
That's right.
Okay. So, and then we'll move on to the correlation between the cyber attacks and the pandemic, how it's been very effective and shows the big correlation between the pandemic and the increase in the cyber attack. Applying layered approaches to cybersecurity. And then we move on to the COVID-19 data set perspective on cybersecurity, and then I'll give the conclusion. So first, in terms of this presentation, this article will demonstrate the cyber security threats caused by COVID-19. I believe we all aware how this pandemic has affected our technology and affected our life in general. So while the world is occupied and we say busy in this struggle with the coronavirus, cyber criminal also at the same time busy every day spreading their own viruses, malwares by phishing emails, data breaches, frauds, denial of service, taking the advantage of the vulnerability that has been created by this crisis. In a scenario that's where millions of people are working from home, they are faced with a high volume of people online, high network demands, and consequence by rising number of cyber threats. So COVID-19 pandemic is a worldwide, it's very universal, so it's a threat to the whole world, or we can say it's a threat to the health and society that requires effective and immediate action by the government, business, and our self-individual as well to protect our data, our system, and protect our health at the same time. From the data collected, we have seen that there's a high number of threats have been coming up from people using COVID-19 or anything related like news. It could be real news, fake news, which has put the people in lures to deploy the malware. However, the online work has opened up an opportunity to cyber criminal and hackers to exploit new weak points in the access to data networks and other data as well. So many organizations and industries have implemented an information security management system to protect their own data and network, but this comes up to the human element which poses the greatest threat, because there are some naive people with the usage of the internet and also of the network. So all organizations which depends on business continuity have found that COVID-19 pandemic has created such a high risk from day to day. So reassess their security strategies carefully. So the example we have here is the phishing emails. I believe we all faced that issue or that incident. And we can see from the data, we have moved from 25,000 a day of phishing to 125,000, so which is equivalent to 500% of an increase of phishing and other types of incidents, which is related to phishing. So the aim of this paper is of this research paper is to investigate the growth of and the reason for the increase of the cyber attack during COVID-19. I mean, we all are aware of this.
Sorry to interrupt. Leka, could you zoom in on your presentation screen, please?
What do you mean zoom?
From display settings.
Isn't it in zoomed?
Some people are saying they cannot see it properly.
It's visible. It's visible properly. I think it's visible.
Oh, is it visible?
Yeah.
Maybe it's their network bandwidth. Yeah, could
Okay.
be.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
That's fine. No worries. Okay, also to optimize the cybersecurity and provide effective way to block or stop these attacks during COVID-19. At the same time, we will be minimizing the universal risk of data breaches and other cyber incidents. That's what we focused. So first, let me come up with the correlation between the cyber attacks and the pandemic. This is not a surprising or astonishing that pandemic has caused a very sharp increase in the cyber attack and also a significant growth in a number of phishing attacks has been perceived by websites. A lot of people have been visiting their different websites trying to collect some news, and most of these news, they were faking news, and which leads them to data breaches, phishing, malwares, and things like that. So these incidents has shown the correlation between the cyber attack and the increase in the vulnerability caused by the pandemic. So we come up with the first step is applying layered approaches to cybersecurity. So when we say applying layered, that means we are applying a new defense, deep in defense, or we can say applying another layer to protect our system or network. So we started from the multi-factor, or we can call it authentication, to cybersecurity awareness. As regards to the viruses of the other types of malwares, malicious attack and things like that, we feel that everyone can play a part by finding and sharing cybersecurity knowledge. Especially now, everyone has a very high and very sophisticated knowledge of technology. So the knowledge is really needed to create a solution that we can minimize the cyber attack as the basic, or as to start with. So some companies start working with identifying measures such as the banking, where they started using the multi-factor authentication. And then this technique, commonly known as multi-factor authentication or two factors, which is essential for protecting the data from cyber attack to access your system or your network and protect your system. So to improve the resilience against the phishing attack and other types of criminal attacks, we should extend the defense. So when we say extend the defense here, to combine more technical measures, highlighting the cybersecurity awareness, we can apply, we can say a security model, like layered of security. Like for example, we start with the onion model, if you have heard of that. So this onion model starts with the firewall, and then we start with implying other types of security authentication, then give authorization, and applying cryptography, such as algorithms to protect these protocols and things like that. Okay, in terms of the COVID-19 data set, so here is to perspective on cybersecurity. So simply a simple algorithm was used to generate these data, which we used is from MISP project threat sharing. They had a load of data which collected from their websites and from other industries and companies. So the data set included different types and showed us there are different types of cyber threats during the COVID-19 pandemic, which have to be minimized, or at least, if possible, to be stopped. So we have to, all of us, to work on that as a human. As I said earlier, I mean, human shows the highest impact of these phishing emails and other malwares in terms of the cyber attack. So that diagram here shows us the types of attachment usually we face with the phishing email. So it shows the highest thing. Usually there's an attachment with the files, with the emails. There's a file attachment. It shows the highest number. And then in terms of the malware attack, there were different type of malware attacks. There is a Trojan, malicious. But you can see from here, phishing emails and malicious were the highest number of that data set, which shows that the phishing has a great number and the malicious attack as well. So this indicates that phishing awareness must be highly eligible way to help a victim mitigate the cyber threat. So that could be implied by the organization and industries that, like for in terms of the phishing emails, usually now most of the if we talk about the emails we receive from work, there is always a message indicating that this email is from outside your network. So you need to pay attention to that email. Things like that, that would also help preventing any attacks from outside. And other layers would be applied, as I said earlier. So to conclude the presentation or the work here, in order to make a better cybersecurity decision, we need to address the maximum level of cyber security awareness and the precaution taken during COVID-19. So that's, we talk when you say a precaution and awareness, that's in terms of a human, because we said human has a big impact on the cyber attack. In addition to the technical, people must be made aware of any threat in order to enable them to avoid COVID-19 fake news and deception completely. So example I can give at the beginning, everyone was facing that's the need of the mask, the face mask, vitamins, paracetamol, because they were outside the market. So people start making orders online. So by doing this, like visiting different websites, and these websites, they have these products, but you're not sure if these products are real or are they not fake websites. So what happens, a lot of people face this. They pay for their product, either vitamins, paracetamols, and other type of medical product they needed. And then they keep waiting and they don't receive the product. So it seems like what happens here, that was a malicious website, or we can say a fake website. What happens here, what helped these people as well, because they are not in the market, so there's no reviewers. Usually when we try to do any shopping or buying a new product, we go and see the on the market, the reviewers of the buyer. So for here, the dark web showed that the new product showed no reviewers, so that helped the hackers, or we can say the criminal attacker, help them in that point. Also, a set of practical steps to minimize the risk of cyber attack is provided and enforced to compensate for the vulnerability associated with the COVID-19. Usually, there are a lot of practical steps to protect, as we mentioned earlier, the layers onion model, or the layers of the security can be applied, passwords, authentication, algorithms, so many steps, updating, and things like that. A layered approach, as I said as well, it will provide the end users with a required knowledge to apply, identify malicious characteristics and other adverse cyber signal, which is essential. So we come up that the government and the organization must take a real action and react quickly because of the possibility of non-stop to cyber attack. And if we can say now there is an evolving in the technology and also in the environment. So that shows us there's non-stop of the attack. So that's mean we have to be awake as individual organizations and government to protect the system, protect network, and protect the technology of not going further and try to stop these attacks. Okay, thank you. I come up to the end of the presentation. I hope I didn't take very long time. I was on the time.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah. As we pass on to our chair for any Q&A.
I think it was a very nice presentation, and it's indeed a very nice work. So I don't have any questions to ask. Anybody else, if he feels sure, she can ask.
Okay, that was easy.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for listening and for the attending greatly.
All right, thank you. Sorry. Thank you for that. And we go on to our next presenter. Oh, sorry. Which is Vanitha Rajamani. Oh.
Thank you. Can I share my screen, please?
Yeah. Just 1 minute. Sorry. Here we are.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Great. So my name is Vanitha Rajamani. This is part of I'm actually a PhD student at the University of South Africa. And so this is just a small part of what I'm currently doing. So I've looked at research trends in the implementation of e-moderation systems. So obviously in the field of information systems and education, and I have authored this paper together with my supervisors, Professor Van Biljon and Dr. C. van Staden. Okay, and the rationale for this, well, I think it's been the rationale for many studies recently. It's been the fact that the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the trend towards digitizing education. And there's very little published information currently on carrying out digital moderation processes, which I have referred to as e-moderation. I'm terribly sorry. I am recovering from a serious illness, so I'm having some difficulty speaking. So the focus in this particular paper was a literature review investigating the trends on the use of technology in implementing moderation processes. So the question was, what are the research trends regarding the implementation of e-moderation systems with the purpose of determining what digital solutions exist to conduct moderation processes. So the literature review consisted of identifying a number of journal articles from different databases. And from the 713 records originally identified, I found 28 additional records identified from other sources. And after having removed duplicates, there were 728. And I don't really need to read through all of this, but eventually 24 articles were included in this final review. And the search terms that were used in order to conduct the literature review were e-moderation, digital moderation, Moodle in digital moderation, etc. And in terms of the inclusion criteria, I only included those that were published in English and literature that came from conference proceedings and journal articles and filtered according to the date from 2010 to 2020. So anything that spoke about moderation, for example, social online moderation, which was completely different from the context of this particular study, were eliminated, and anything to do with moderation in domains other than education were eliminated. And these were the systems that I'd come up with. So there were just a few existing systems that actually carry out moderation processes. And these looked at improving peer review processes. And if we look at the context of these 5 different projects, 4 of them came from the higher education institution. Only 1 looked at secondary schools. And that digital moderation project, which dealt with secondary schools, was actually quite inconclusive because no existing e-moderation system was found.
You are not audible. Please check your audio system. You are not audible.
I think she's muted.
Oh, now it's okay. Now it's okay. Vanita, you are not audible.
Hello.
Vanitha, you're not audible.
You are not audible.
Might she left the session?
Maybe there are some network issues, na?
Yes. She left out the session.
Let us wait for some time. I think she'll come back.
Now she's here.
Now she's back?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, I seem to have lost connection.
No issue. Welcome back. You can start.
Sorry. Okay, so I evaluated each of these existing systems based on the context in which the e-moderation system will be used, in terms of whether the moderator would be able to annotate scripts, create a moderator's report, and its applicability to the secondary school environment. And if we looked at all of these studies, the only study that really had some digital moderation processes and allowed a moderator to annotate scripts and create the moderator's report was the user experience evaluation framework. And all of the others weren't really applicable. And although the digital moderation project is applicable to the secondary school environment, there actually is no existing e-moderation system. So some of the findings were that an online moderation tool would need to be context sensitive, streamlined, efficient, cost-effective, sustainable, and fit for purpose. And the institution that's actually hosting an e-moderation system should have adequate internet connectivity and a robust infrastructure, which is a necessary prerequisite for the 4th Industrial Revolution. And the other thing is that the technology limitations can hamper the digital moderation process. So from the findings, there is indication that there's very little empirical evidence of systems that are dedicated to online moderation of assessments, specifically within the secondary school sector. And e-moderation is mainly an emergent phenomenon with numerous adoption challenges, especially within a resource-constrained context. So some of the limitations were that only 5 studies were considered, and this was because of the limited number of applicable studies that were actually available. And only 1 study provides comprehensive functionality, which enables your moderator to be able to actually access the CS script, annotate these scripts, and upload together with the report for the initial assessor to retrieve. So there's definitely a gap. And so it is envisaged that this research will guide policy making within individual schools and the Department of Education for the purposes of moderation, and enable principals and directors of academics and individual teachers to basically be able to implement efficient processes for moderation. So the focus of the current research is specifically the secondary school environment. So the next steps to investigate would be research into digital solutions for conducting moderation processes, and also in other educational contexts like your secondary school environment. One of the things that came up during this literature review was a new direction in terms of the improvement of peer review processes by actually using machine language techniques to determine variances with a view to improving digital moderation processes. So that would be quite useful at this stage. Do you have any suggestions in terms of how this can carry? This is part of my Okay, so it's suggestions and any questions?
If there is no questions, we can go ahead because we have a limited time. We're already late.
No questions?
Fine, you can go ahead.
All right.
It was a nice
Thank
presentation.
you.
Thank you so much. It was such a nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry.
You can call the next presenter.
The next presenter. Nui Nikin. Her paper title is on the enhanced honey word generation method using advanced DNA algorithm.
Might she not present?
Nui Nikin, I don't think she's present.
Yes. Now, not present, sir.
Present. I think. Till then, we should call the next one.
Next one,
Yes.
Mana Abdel Hamid, and her paper title is A Novel Approach for Smart Contracts Using Blockchain.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah.
So hello everyone, my name is Mana Abdel Hamid. Today I'm gonna introduce for you my paper. It's a novel approach for a smart contract using blockchain. This paper was written by me and Professor Khalid Nagati. This is part of my master's. So today the agenda is we're going to introduce for you the introduction, research problem, all the related work, proposed solution, the experimental results, conclusion, and future work. So any transaction that occurs in any system usually happen in a centralized way which require the involvement of a third party to verify this transaction. This leads to a security issue, as there will be a single point of failure and high transaction fees. Therefore, they introduced a new technology that is a blockchain technology. Blockchain is a decentralized system that exists between all parties, which will lead to no need to pay an intermediate to help in the process. So types of blockchain, there are 3 types of the blockchain. The first one is the public blockchain, which allow any user to access the block. Also, there are a second one, which is the private blockchain, which is allow specific people to access this blockchain. The third one is the consortium. It's a combination between the 2 blocks, the private and the public one. So to use each one of these blockchains, it's based on the amount of decentralization required and the time and the constraint each one required. So there are a lot of importance for the blockchain. One of the importance that it records and validates every transaction made, which make it secure and more reliable. The other thing, it's discard the third party to verify any transaction that happened between peer-to-peer. Also, users are in control, a full control of their information and transaction. The third thing is that it's complete, accurate, and readily available. Oh, sorry. It reduced the transaction time. It's also available 24/7. As it's a decentralized system, as I mentioned before, therefore it's less risky and to be hacked. Also, blockchain. I'm sorry, can everyone hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear everything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's all right.
So there are a lot of applications for the blockchain. It can be used in, for example, in the governmental sector, in the voting, as it records the voting process. It's verified, and which will lead to an autonomous system. Also, it can be used in intellectual property sector, which is the verifying the authorship for any document. It also can be used in medical and healthcare sector, which is the recording a patient's information or tracking patient recovery. And also it can be used in a smart contracts, which is my part that I'm going to focus on. So, so any contract, oh, sorry. Sorry. So smart contract. So any contract is written or spoken. It's a written or a spoken agreement. It usually occurs between 2 parties that need this process to happen. That intends to be enforced by law. So in the traditional systems, the contracts need third party to verify it, and also there will be a lot of paperwork to reach to the result that you want, which will lead to a high in the transaction cost. So they introduced a new concept, which is a smart contract concept. So it's a new concept that has been deployed on top of the blockchain. It's an executable code that runs on the blockchain automatically. It has some rules that facilitate and it enforce the terms of the contracts to happen between untrusted parties to work together. So the thing is, when scientists started to deploy the smart contract, they faced a lot of problems that make them face, for example, how to modify smart contract, how to change in it. So they classify the issues into 4 things. One of the things is the codifying issue. The second one is the security issue. The third one is the privacy issue. And finally, performance issue. So I'm going to focus today about the codifying issue. So some of the scientists said that creating a smart contract, the safe smart contract, sometimes it's hard. So the correctness of the smart contract is hard because maybe some of the data will be lost. So you cannot modify in the smart contract after execution. Other things is using, for example, templates that help in modifying the smart contract. these templates are not valid for all types of agreements. So it's still some of the data will be lost. Another thing is the transaction ordering dependency. For example, if the contract will be invoked in the same time by two people or by two transactions, one maybe will be before the other, and some data will be lost. So it's sequential execution of the smart contract, because a smart contract needs to be executed sequentially, which will lead to a lot of space, a lot of time needed to be done. So all these were some of the problems. So one of the main problems is if the smart contract was executed on the blockchain, you cannot modify in it. So this is my research problem, that the inability to modify smart contract after execution. So as I mentioned, smart contract after execution cannot be modified. Um, and the alternative ways to modify it will result in more storage usage, and time for execution will be high. So the proposed solution that I proposed is to create a modifying blockchain, which will allow a contract to have modified data added to the contract after its termination. How this will happen, I will show you different diagrams that will explain how I'm going to do this solution. So the first one is, so the blockchain we will have a main blockchain. The blockchain executes normally. When it comes to the smart contract or the block 2, it will look for a modification blockchain associated to it. So we have a blockchain connected to it. This blockchain will have, if the smart contract in block 2 needs a modification data, so it will goes to the control will goes to the modifying blockchain to search for the latest modification of the smart contract. When it finds in block 1 in the modifying blockchain the modified data, the contract and the latest information are merged together and sent back to the main blockchain. For example, here we have two modification, block 1 and block 2. So the latest one is block 2. So it will be all merged together and sent to the main blockchain for the smart contract. So as I said, the contract and the latest information are merged together, and the control returns back to the main block. So how about if we have different smart contracts in the main blockchain? So we'll have separate modifying blockchain. Each one will have the modified data, and it will be connected to the block that needs the modification in it. So this is the simply what the proposed solution and how it will be done. This is a very simple flow chart that shows how the code in Solidity will be done. So we have a blockchain that we're gonna loop, and it's gonna go through the blocks. If the availability of a smart contract is there, then it will go search if this smart contract need a modification data or not. If it's available, it will be merged together, and then the loop will keep going till till the end. So how I did this, I did it on the Ethereum. The Ethereum structure, it's first of all, Ethereum is the most commonly platform to be deployed the smart contract on top of it. It's most commonly used. It supports a complete feature, and it's easy use of a smart contract that allow more creation and advanced the customization for the contracts. Smart contracts will be executed as a set of agreement on the Ethereum virtual machine, EVM. Once this transaction will occur and accepted, the Ethereum accounts will invoke this contracts and the functions in it. Then the execution of the transaction is sent to the address of the next node. So each one will send to the next node the transaction that it's done. This is very simply how the structure is. The code is written in Solidity, as it's the most compile, or the language that's used to compile the smart contract, because it's have a variety of facility to write the code. And then it will be deployed on top of the Ethereum compiler, and then they will be run on the Ethereum virtual machine. The complexity, I used the average complexity using the hash O of 1. This hash table will be make execution significantly faster, and less storage will be done, will be used. Smart contract, to conclude this very fast presentation, smart contracts have issues during implementation, as I mentioned, which one of the biggest issues is the inability to modify smart contract or a change in it after its execution on top of the blockchain. We proposed a modifying blockchain to modify smart contract in order to have less consuming in the memory, and also to last the execution time of the blockchain of the smart contract on top of the blockchain. Also, modifying blockchain is conducted to allow modifying in another. So each block will be modified according to what I mentioned. The modifying block will be pointing to the main blockchain. So the original data will be kept, and the extra one will be related to it. Another thing that I'm trying to figure out and hope that's gonna work, my future work. So as part of my future work, I will study how to create smart contract on the blockchain with different ways of modification other than the one I proposed. Also, I will be trying to use the hash table to speed up the execution time of the smart contract. Also, I'm planning to create a new method for modifying the smart contract using linked list, which provide us with more storage, saving for the time and lessen the execution time, and provide a memory space that would hold the modification data. Here are my references. I hope that I didn't talk really that fast, and it's clear. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Manner, it was a very nice presentation, and your topic of research is also very nice.
Thank
so
you.
It's encouraging. I just want to know, out of the curiosity, so what are the overheads or complexities involved while modifying the?
Okay, I'm sorry. It's kind of disconnecting or something. Can you tell me the
Am I
question
audible?
again?
Am I audible?
No, I can hear you now. Yes.
Fine. I just wanted to know, have you gone through like something, some literature review on what are the different overheads or complexities while this is smart contract modification?
So you need to know the complexity. Did I understand the question right?
Any overheads or complexities while modifying the smart contract? Have you studied that?
No, I can't understand the question. Sorry.
While you are going to modify the smart contract, there must be some overheads.
Why? What's make it complex?
Yeah. What are the complexity issues?
So the complexity I chose of one. Is this the answer or?
Yeah. If you want to modify the smart contract, so what are the overheads?
Yes.
What are the overheads involved in the modification of the smart contract?
In the modification of the smart contract, what's my overhead?
Yes. Any possible overheads?
The thing is that what I did is to modify in the smart contract. What I have done is to create another block. This block will have the smart contract connected to it, so the address will be linked to the old blockchain, and I will have all the data that needed in it. Send it to it, and if I need to add in any extra information, I will connect it to the other block, and it will be kind of a linked list, but it's not really a linked list. All of them will have all the modification. So by then I didn't change in the original data, but I will change. I didn't change in the original blockchain and the smart contract in it. All what I am gonna do is I'm gonna link an extra or a modified data to it. So
okay, fine, very
okay.
nice.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So any other questions?
Anybody else want to ask something?
Okay.
Fine, you can go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next presentation is by Daniel Lee. His paper title is The Modified Tpac Framework of the Teachers' Efficiencies, Students' Performance, and Students' Engagement. Daniel?
Good. Yeah.
Hi.
Good day, everyone. So I will share my screen first.
And you can switch on your video also.
My apology, I didn't have a webcam with me because I'm using desktop. Yeah.
Fine, no issue.
So is it visible for you all?
Yeah, it's visible.
Right. So once again, good day, everyone. I will presenting the title, a modified Tpac framework for teachers' efficiency, students' performance, and student engagement. I'm currently a master student from Multimedia University, Malaysia, and this is a study with my supervisor, Dr. Liu Sokling, and also my co-supervisor, Dr. Oishi. So let me have a little brief about the research background. Due to the vast evolution of technology, many sectors are undergoing gradual changes, including the education sector, especially the integration of technology in the teaching and learning process. So as you can see, the traditional classroom is actually having a very minimal engagement between the teachers and also the students. So this also having minimal to non-involvement of technology, where the teaching and learning process is leaning towards the teacher-centered approach. So according to Zhai Ekeluk, the relationship between the students and their behavior towards learning via mobile technology is showing a positive attitude. Therefore, the Tpac framework is adopted and modified in this study to assess teachers and students whether teachers are efficient enough for conducting classes with the integration of technology and how students being beneficial through modified Tpac framework in terms of their academic performance as well as their engagement in classes conducted. Therefore, it leads to two major issues, which are first one, lack of engagement between teachers and students in the modern classroom, and second, the readiness of teachers' knowledge in facilitating classes with the integration of technology in the modern classroom. So we have the objectives of this study, where it's intended to modify the adopted Tpac framework, which resulting in addressing the non-three elements, which are teachers' efficiency, students' performance, and students' engagement. Hence, the objectives are listed as identify how the Tpac framework elements interrelate with each other. Second, identify the relationship between modified framework and teachers' efficiency, students' performance, and students' engagement. According to Harrell, in the 21st century, education, ICT, innovation, and science technology are the main pillars of knowledge society. Also, Najri mentioned that students are considered as digital natives because interactive technology has already been part of their daily lives. So these are the breakdown of my literature review. The first part will be technology integration for education. From the perspective of external influences, poor infrastructure is considered as one of the major external influence. The integration of technology into the classroom serves two principles. First one will be constructivist, and the second one will be social cultural principles. And for the internal influence, it is depending on the teacher's choice of technology and how well the teacher's knowledge or his or her prior knowledge on the technology that they choose, whether it is appropriate and suitable for conducting or facilitating classes and lessons. The second part of my literature review will be focusing on the Tpac framework. Since nowadays, schools are mostly equipped with technological equipment in terms of hardware, software, online materials for both teaching and learning, teachers can guide students into global technology and be competitive. Additionally, online teaching and learning is focusing on two major sectors, which are pedagogy and educational technology. Tpac model allows teachers to recognize and understand the practical way of delivering teaching materials and contents with the use of technology. The crucial elements of the Tpac framework can be categorized as technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. In this study, a systematic literature review, which is also known as SLR, is considered in identifying research questions. The research questions that identify are: how does technology relate to the teaching and learning process? The second question will be, how does the introduction of teachers' efficiency, students' performance, and students' engagement into Tpac framework elements affect teaching and learning experience? We move on to the results. On your left-hand side, the Tpac framework is known as Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge, which is a framework created by Mishra and Cochlear in the year 2006, defining a total number of 7 components regarding teachers' knowledge, where teachers are required to teach with the implementation and integration of technology in conjunction with their knowledge for a specific area. On your right-hand side, there are additional elements included in the framework. The first one will be the teacher's efficiency that is dependent on teachers' technological knowledge, which with the implementation of the mobile interactive system, which capable of conducting on-screen writing. As for students' engagement, it is dependent on teachers' pedagogical knowledge, whereas students' performance is depending on teachers' content knowledge. Explaining about the components in terms of the TK, which is related to the technological devices and tools which are available to be used by the teachers in the classroom. The familiarity of teachers towards the technological device and tools is taken into consideration. Therefore, we can observe from this figure, anything that is related with the alphabet T, which is referring to the technological part, is actually related to a teacher's technological knowledge. So it is including the TCK, which is technological content knowledge, and also TPK, technological pedagogical content. So how does it affect the teacher's efficiency is how teachers himself or herself actually utilizing the technological knowledge or the technology that is available for he or she to conduct or facilitate a class. So a good choice or an appropriate choice of technology can actually enhance teachers' efficiency in teaching class in terms of how they deliver their ideas to students. And Furthermore, about students' engagement, it's about the P, which is pedagogical knowledge of the teachers. Pedagogical knowledge is how teachers using tailored delivery methods in delivering her knowledge or idea or thoughts to students, which is easier for students to be absorbed. So it's including the PCK and TPK. As for the student performance, we will be relating to the content knowledge, which is the quality of the content related to the subject taught by a teachers. So it has TCK and PCK. So in overall, Tpac is a combination of all these three segments. So let me conclude this session. As an expected outcomes of the proposed modified Tpac framework is using the elements of the Tpac framework to indicate the level of teachers' efficiency, students' performance, and students' engagement. So due to the nature of Tpac framework, which is specialized in assessing teachers' effectiveness in utilizing the technologies in teaching, teachers' efficiency is measured from the components of the Tpac framework that involves their technological knowledge, which are TK, TPK, and TCK. Whereas for the student engagement, it will be PCK and TPK to determine the level of students' engagement. As for the students' performance, it will be the TCK and PCK, which is related to the content that evaluate the level or the academic performance of students. All in all, it will create a better teaching environment and also create a better learning environment, which is tailored to the students. So this is my presentation for this paper. Thank you. Any questions?
Hello, sir.
It's a nice presentation. Now we can proceed ahead. No questions from my side. If anybody else wants to ask, most welcome.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can call the next presentation. And thank you for a nice presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Daniel Lee again with a second presentation.
I will share the screen. Give me a second.
Yeah, that's fine.
So is it visible?
Yeah.
Right. So once again, I will present my second paper, which is proposed integration of mobile interactive system in the classroom. This is a paper done with my supervisor and also co-supervisor, Dr. Liu and Dr. Wu. So for the introduction part, I will give a brief explanation on the research background. So in the digital era, technology is an element that is closely related to our daily lives. The presence and rapid growth of technology have led the education sector to transform into a whole new phase with the integration of technology into the education sector, a new term called educational technology, which is the combination of education and technology, is introduced in the community. In the traditional classroom environment, there is minimal to none involvement of the technology. Hence, there will be teacher-centered approach being circulated or being practiced, because that is the traditional way or the most common practice way of how teachers actually deliver their knowledge to students in most level of education. Next, I will introduce the problem that is being considered. As teachers are exposed to new types of knowledge due to the involvement of technology in education, their considerations on the use of technologies need their in-depth understanding of three aspects, which are technologies, traditional tools, and resources. On the whole, two major factors are focused in this study, which are the readiness of teachers regarding the implementation and integration of technology in the modern classroom, and classes that are unable to gain students' attention and interest. I will introduce the objectives. In this study, a proposed mobile interactive system is integrated and introduced as an alternative teaching method. Due to the involvement of educational technology in the classroom, the Tpac framework is being further modified, and the objectives of this study are integrate the proposed mobile interactive system in the Tpac framework and mapping the research elements, which are teachers' efficiency, students' engagement, and students' performance into the Tpac framework with the proposed mobile interactive system as the primary delivery methods. The first part of my literature review will be teacher-centered classroom. In 2018, Prashad mentioned that the teaching and learning process is an interaction between teachers and students, which are two different things but form a unity. Students are less engaged with teachers in the teacher-centered classroom because teachers have full control of the classroom. In the teacher-centered classroom, teachers and students are having minimum interaction, where advantages of collaborative learning, such as enhancing confidence, better academic achievement, enjoyment, proposing motivation, and most importantly, communication skills cannot be achieved according to Chola in 2019. Next, classes conducted using a teacher-centered approach are usually boring. In such an environment, students tend to feel more pressure and learning can be dull, resulting in students losing their interest. Next part of my literature review will be mobile interactive system with on-screen writing features. As for mobile technology, it becomes very common and accessible for everyone. Hence, the implementation of mobile technology in the education sector has slowly become the norm. And the adoption of mobile technology can be known as an innovative approach in education. Meanwhile, in your right-hand side of the slide, you can observe there is a interactive whiteboard, which is known as IWB. This kind of devices actually existed, and it costs a higher cost and having lower mobility for the teachers in teaching or facilitating the classes. And it has high hardware dependent, means that teachers are required to actually learn how to use this device or IWB. And in the meantime, she still stuck with the motion where she only can access the whiteboard when she is near. So the sacrificing of the mobility can be observed. Hence, the combination of mobile technology and the usefulness of the IWB, which is the on-screen writing, can be combined into one mobile interactive system, and it will have lesser cost and grant teachers with greater mobility in the class to have a better engagement with students, as well as it has less hardware dependent, where teachers only needs a smartphone device to install the application and use it instead of having a full setup of the IWB. So the method for these findings are using the SLR. We have two research questions here. The first research question will be, how does the proposed mobile interactive system relates to the teaching and learning process? Second question, how does the integration of the mobile interactive system with on-screen writing map into Tpac Framework elements with research elements? So this will be the results. As for the result part, on-screen writing via the proposed mobile interactive system will be conducted in the classroom for additional interactivity and visual impact while carrying out classroom activities. As for teachers' efficiency, it can be referring to the effectiveness of teachers integrating the technological approach, such as the proposed mobile interactive system in the classroom. Teachers are known to be the leaders of the classroom, managing classroom atmosphere as it can affect students' learning efficiency. In this context, it's referring to the TK element, TCK, TPK, and Tpac. With the help of IoT, gender disparity can be overcome and enhancing teachers' efficiency and students' engagement. Students' engagement can be improved with the assistance of technological tools, creating effective teaching and learning environment, resulting in getting feedbacks from students. So moving on to the table. As you can see from this table, these are the list of hypotheses. The PK here is referred to the interactive-based teaching. And CK is subject proficiency. TK is use of proposed mobile interactive system. PCK is teaching a subject through interactive-based teaching. And TPK is interactive-based teaching with the integration of the proposed mobile interactive system, while TCK is teaching subjects with the integration proposed mobile interactive system. Lastly, Tpac is teaching subjects via interactive-based teaching with the integration of proposed mobile interactive system. From table 1, or the list of hypotheses, it is formed based on the findings from previous figure, which is this modified Tpac framework. In this context, the teacher's choice of pedagogy in conducting a class in an interactive-based teaching approach is considered. The thoroughness of the teacher's understanding of pedagogical knowledge can affect the engagement between the teachers and the students in the classroom. For the lessons, content-wise, the teacher's proficiency level of the subject taught is critical in determining students' performance academically. As for technological knowledge, the use of the proposed mobile interactive system is involved. Next, I will jump into the conclusion. As a result of changing the teaching environment, the way students learn changed as well. With the use of the proposed mobile interactive system in facilitating classes, the engagement between teachers and students is affected. Moreover, this study is aimed to create a better teaching and learning environment with more interactivity between teachers and students. Furthermore, the proposed mobile interactive system offers teachers an alternative way of delivering their knowledge more interactively. The system also grants teachers great mobility and flexibility when facilitating classes. Their efficiency in conducting classes can vary due to their prior knowledge in the technological aspect. Like a chain reaction, teachers' efficiency in conducting classes using the proposed mobile interactive system can have an impact on students' engagement and students' performance. This proposed system creates a new way of communication for the students to give feedback and voice their thoughts and opinions to their teachers. Hence, their interactivity and engagement with teachers in the classroom deters their level of interest in the subject taught, which affects students' performance academically. Thank you. That's all for my presentation. Any questions?
Yeah, presentation was very good. Congratulations for that. I just like to tell you, in one of your slides, you told that sometimes the classroom teachings are boring.
Yeah.
So it's not in all the cases. In some specific cases, you can say, but
yeah.
Putting the ICT also in the classrooms and using the ICT equipments by the teacher. So how can you ensure that all the students are attentive during the online classes and all these types of ICT infrastructure? Because in the pandemic time, what we have witnessed that sometimes students are just they are just in the class, they are in the online class, attendance is there, but they are not
less motivated, right?
Switch off their videos and then they are doing their things. So there also it can be boring. So how can you compare all these two situations, like practical classroom teaching and this online teaching?
So for this, with the proposed mobile interactive system I've tested it, during the online class, I actually managed to have a virtual whiteboard. So I can use drawing or any other media or presenting methods to catch their attentions better rather than I'm just holding a online session and verbally and using the slides, the lecture slides that they usually have on their hand. So when we are conducting the online class, using the slide itself is rather boring because all the contents are there. Then they will think, why am I listen to you when I can read? So for that, I will make use of this system and try another approach to visualize the content to them so they will feel increase their curiosity at first point, and then they will have a certain interest because it is something that is not in the slide that they can view. So they will pay more attention to that particular session rather than I verbally lecturing them using the slides 100%.
Okay. And what do you think about the security? Like in the normal class, regular class, only the registered students can come. And in the online class, somebody from outside can also join, and it can make some problems in the class. So how do you ensure the security?
For this, MMU actually having their own students' email, right? So only the students with their student email can access that particular session. So no outsider, if there is an outsider that wanted to join the class, actually we will be prompt and we can deny the access if we find out that there is not our students.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, right.
Good, congratulations.
All right, thank you. Any other questions before I end my session?
If there is no
I will-
questions, we can proceed.
All right,
All right.
I will stop my sharing here. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Daniel. Thank you. Sorry.
You can please call upon the next one.
Yep. And the last one we have, sorry, is Felipe Castro Medina. And his title is An Improvement to Fragment, a web application for database fragmentation, allocation, and replication over a cloud environment. Sorry. Philip.
Hi, good afternoon.
Oh, hiya.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome, Philip.
Now I will share my screen. A second.
You should be able to share your screen now. There we go.
Correct. Good afternoon. My name is Felipe Castro Medina, and I present you my work, An Improvement to Fragment, a web application for database fragmentation, allocation, and replication over a cloud environment. The content of this presentation includes three fundamental questions to understand this issue. What is data fragmentation and replication? What is the problem of overlapping fragments? How to solve it? And finally, the results obtained and the conclusions are shown. Let's address the first question. What is data fragmentation and data replication? They are techniques for improvement in the design of distributed database. There are three types of data fragmentation techniques and two types of data replication. The first type of data fragmentation is horizontal, which is based on splitting a relation horizontally. The result of this type of fragmentation is a subset of tuples. The second type of data fragmentation is vertical, which consists in splitting a relation vertically. The result of this type of fragmentation is a subset of columns. The last type of data fragmentation is hybrid. This type of data fragmentation is focuses in apply one of the other two types of data fragmentation and then the other. The two types of replication are total replication and partial replication. The first one consists in replicate each fragment in each side. The second one consists in replicate some fragments from sides. Now let's pay attention to the second question. What is the problem of overlapping fragments? To better understand this question, let's look at an example of fragmentation. We have these three fragments defined by this predicate. It can be seen that the first and second predicates overlap, and this represents an important decision to make. Castro Medina and collaborators in 2020 solved this problem by eliminating the smallest predicate and keeping the largest. To obtain each of the fragments, a matrix of negation is constructed, keeping the statements on the diagram. The last row, all the negations are placed to obtain everything that is not included in the predicate. Removing the smallest overlapping predicates also removes its related row and column. The result is the right table. In this image, it shows the methodology, which is included in Castro Medina and collaborators in 2020. The first step is getting the log file and the database connection. In this way, this file is analyzed to obtain the included matrix. This matrix shows the types of operations that are applied to each predicate and in which type they perform. The second step is create the ALP table. The ALP table shows the ALP value of each attribute of the table that will be fragmented. The ALP value is the result of the cost of each predicate. The includes determines the ALP table. The attribute with the highest value in the ALP table will determine the fragmentation scheme in the next step. The fourth step is evaluate the cost of allocation fragments to the site. The fifth step is apply the fragmentation and allocation scheme, and results will be cited with fragments and replicas. Now, how to solve it? How to solve it in a better way? The work shown in our article takes into account the cost of each predicate in order them by that value. Only the part of the predicates that do not overlap with more expensive predicates is preserved. In this example, x less than 3 remains intact even though it's smaller. Since it is the most expensive. At x less than 6, only the part that do not overlap with x less than 3 is preserved. This image compares the results of the previous example with the previous and current work, paying x less than 20 the most expensive predicate. The results obtained show the improvement in the response time of the queries made in the CPCIH benchmark. Well, conclusions and further work. A new approach to solving overlapping fragments was introduced, which is a common problem in the fragmentation process. Fragment preservation is based on cost precedence and not the size, since in many cases, the largest fragment is the least used, or the smallest fragment is the most used. In future work, the fragment grouping will be used with the same cost, and in this way improve the scheme produced by avoiding fragments with a single element obtained by equality operation. This is my unique reference and questions.
So Philip, am I audible? Am I audible, Philip?
Sorry?
Yeah, am I audible to you?
I don't.
Okay,
Yes,
fine,
sir, you are
fine.
audible. Yes, sir,
Okay.
audible.
So can you tell me what do you do in the case of overlapping fragmentations? Yeah, overlapping fragments.
I don't understand.
Yeah, in case of the overlapping fragments, what do you do? I think there was a slide. Yeah.
Um, well, in the case of the fragments are overlapped, I preserve the fragments with the highest cost. In this case, in this image, x less than 3 is the query or the predicate with the highest value, and x less than 3 is preserved, or x less than 6, just the part that do not overlap with x less than 3 is preserved.
Okay, fine. Good.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best.
Any other question?
Fine. If there are no questions, then we can proceed. Any other papers to present?
No, that's all the papers.
Okay, fine.
Thank you very much, Philip.
Hello. Hello.
Hiya.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I just have a question, not regarding the presentation, regarding the whole conference, if you don't mind. You know the first ID badge that you provide for each presenter. Would we be able to have a copy or a letter that we attended the conference? This question is to Professor Weibel. Hello.
I think we should convey your message to the organizing committee, and definitely they should send.
Yeah, they will all be getting a digital certificate through the mail. Every presenter here.
You know the first image you present for each single, if you would like to preview it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think we can ask them to send that image also.
They will send, the image will be sent to all the presenters. Yeah.
Yeah, as an ID badge. You know, usually when we attend a conference, not virtually, on a location, usually we do have an ID badge or a letter that shows that we did attend the conference. So is that?
Yeah, I would assume so, because they'll just have to email it to you rather than giving it to you.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind even if it was, I mean, a soft copy by email.
Yeah,
you do know what I mean. You know the first one you had previewed for each presenter?
Let me put it up for you just to be sure. You speaking about these ones?
Yes. Yes, that's what I meant. Would we be able to have a copy of that, or as a?
Yes, you can get this copy via mail.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry to bother you guys.
No, it's okay.
Thanks a lot. It was a great conference. Thank you very much.
It's all right. Just some closing remarks. So I'd like to thank all the authors for their excellent presentation this session, and all our participants for being part of the International Congress. I hope the session was informative and knowledgeable to everyone, as it was to me. All their presenters will be getting a digital certificate through the mail within 2 working days, and all the papers have already been forwarded to the Springer. So the publication will be live within 4 to 6 months. I would also like to thank our session chair, Professor Vijay Singh Rathore, for chairing the session. A token of appreciation to the chair on behalf of the team ICICT 2021 and Global Research. Thank you for your valuable presence, sir.
Thank you so much. I humbly accept the certificate and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, it's all right. Just quickly before we all go, could I all kindly request you all to turn on the camera for a quick snapshot of the virtual press conference, please? Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if you can see me.
Yeah, we very quickly, let me print screen some of this. Yeah, anyone with a webcam, if you could just turn it on for me quickly. Thank you very much. Thank you, that's all for today. Stay safe and please take care. Precaution is better than cure.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining and thanks for your nice presentations.
Thank you.
I hope, wish you all the
Thank you,
best.
sir.
Thank you.